Generators, automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosley Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosley.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no
Shelton Daniel. Happy to say, accompanied today by my co-host Terry Fenelon, as well as our technical operator Alton Jaquan Joseph. Our program, as you know, airs weekdays from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station called Real FM, serving you on two frequencies, 91.3 megahertz for the northern part of St. Lucia and 91.5 for the south. We simulcast on NBC Television, channel 120 on the Flow Cable TV service. We are on Facebook Live and also on YouTube live streaming. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you're having a great day so far, and looking forward to a wonderful remainder of your Monday as well as remainder of the week. Talking about weeks, today marks the first 7 days of the month of July 2025. So we have completed, technically speaking, a week of the 7th month of the year. Be careful, St. Lucians. We've noticed the weather activity, the climate patterns and so on showing a bit of unpredictability, consistent with the change that we've been warned about for many, many years. A lot of people are saying that it is making itself more evident. Just look at what has happened in the United States, in the state of Texas, flash flooding. I can't believe this, that in a matter of a few minutes, a river rises, what they said, 30 meters or something, or 30 feet. Yeah? This is something, this is some tremendous increase, in water levels. And so far, I think they've confirmed more than 80 people have died, including and there are also about 20-something missing, including very young people. And I mean, the United States of America prides itself on preparedness, on having systems and measures and relief and evacuation and a certain degree of efficiency, and yet they were caught completely unawares and off guard by this. What can happen to us? We have a history of that happening in St. Lucia. Let's not forget Tropical Storm Debbie. We knew something was happening. We just didn't know it was so bad. Hurricane Thomas sitting on top of St. Lucia, not moving for about 10 days and dumping rain, the Christmas Eve trough. Just a couple of years ago, we had this situation in the Corinth area, where out of nowhere, some rains just came and just created so much, disaster and destruction and devastation. These kinds of things that we have, we cannot afford to take anything for granted. We are in the hurricane season, folks. We're also in cricket season, and I know that's a sharp, veering off keel and kilter and topic and so on. But what's happening with West Indies cricket, me say? It ain't not West Indies losing, It's the way they lose. I mean, in the current series, the first one, I think, didn't go beyond 3 days. Mm-hmm. West Indies beaten inside 3 days by Australia, no matter how powerful the Australians are. But you're playing at home. You're playing in Barbados, considered in many ways to be the headquarters of West Indies cricket and so on. Even though the West Indies cricket board, was moved to Antigua some years ago, but Barbados still considered very much. First time we had a World Cup here, not surprisingly, the finals in Barbados. You understand? Barbados is the center where cricket is, mythic and legend and all of that and so on. And that is the place, that is the place where Australia took the Frank Warrior Trophy from us, 30 years ago in 1995 in Barbados. They took it from us, where they started. They won a historic test match and so on. I mean, this was the series of Drop Me Brown, Courtney Brown of Barbados dropping Steve Waugh in Jamaica when he was on 47 and we're going on to score 200 runs. Eventually, we lost the series 2-1, and since then, we've never been able to lay hands on the Frank Warrell Trophy again. But beaten inside 3 days in Grenada, you get a sense that West Indies are onto something good. The bowlers do what they're supposed to do. They bowl. They put West Indies in a position where they have at least a fighting chance. But the batsmen don't seem able to cope with the bowling, with the swing and the turn and whatever. I mean, you all are professional top-flight cricketers and so on. I mean, it's not, if it was just against Australia, but I've seen the same thing happen against South Africa, where they just don't seem to be able to cope with the bowling. Whether of Aiden, well, Macron, I think, is a batsman more, but Coetzee and who else and so on come and they just, Rabada and so on, and they completely blow them away. It's the same thing with Australia. It doesn't matter whether it is Stark, whether it is Cummins, whether it is that spinner guy, what's his name, Lyons, West Indies, they just seem come. What is even strange, what is even more curious, is that after the bowlers have done their work, have done yeoman service to the cause of West Indies, you still see the Shamar Josephs and the Alzari Joseph and the Tillanders come, and the fellas are playing some shots and hitting the Australian bowlers for sixes. If one of the top batsmen hit, those bowlers for Brandon King or whatever, the two of them didn't do it. Is Shamar Joseph coming, hitting 6 after 6, making the Australian bowlers look like Papi Shaw and Alzari and the other guys down the order and so on, demonstrating, what's his name, Jaden Seals and those fellas playing. But of course, they're not specialist batsmen. They do it 2-3 times. They might feel they have to do it a 4th time, as opposed to, you hit 2-3 sixes, cool out, watch carefully, and so on. The rush of blood will get there. After all, fast bowlers, they have the temperament of fast bowlers. But how come they can come lower down the order and put in that kind of performance? And the front line, top order, top flight, cannot do that against them. I don't know. I tell you, many times I feel like stopping, not watching West Indies cricket again, not because I'm only there for when they win, but the emotional, roller coaster that it puts you on, the absolute torment you feel yourself in and so on. And sometimes you say, just spare yourself that. There are enough things to depress you in life done for West Indies. West Indies lost the test match in less than 4 days. They had a full day. They could have poked around and taken. I mean, after all, I'm not denying that some of the balls were beauties. I'm not denying that. But these are batsmen who are supposed to be at their level in their home turf, in their home country, in their home territory to be able to deal with it. It's like they're completely out of sorts. They lost in 3 days in Barbados. They lost in less than 4 days in Grenada. What's going to happen to them in Jamaica is anybody's guess. I don't know. Can you imagine me going into sports and talking about West Indies stuff and so on? Anyway, people, let me just talk on a couple of things there. And I have to go to the one that's on everybody's mind. The report about Alan Chasney barging onto the construction site, and we have to call it a construction site. The hospital has not been opened. It has not yet been commissioned. But Chasney, it seems, by all indications, by all reports, just showing up unannounced, uninvited, unarranged visit to the St. Jude Hospital site. Now, the question is, who was there to admit him? Who decided to let him come in? What did the tour consist of? What areas did he enter? What did he see? What did he touch? What did he do? Was he alone? Did he have other people with him? What is the framework and regulations for requesting permission to visit the hospital construction site? What is the framework for giving that kind of permission? Who is authorized to give that permission? And how exactly did it work out? That Chasney ended up there. I think you have heard the real issues. No end. Warning about this. Be very, very careful. Terry, you must have heard me. I'm on that non-stop. Veillez ces bugsa. Be very, very careful about the United Workers' Party. Their attitude, their disposition, their determination towards and against that St. Jude Hospital reconstruction undertaken under this Labour Party and the Labour Party to have. Some time ago, they tried with a march or whatever to storm St. Jude, and when the police stopped them, we heard those famous words by Dr. Joycelyn Fletcher, the militant, angry, enragé Joycelyn Fletcher, telling people, comply with them, but watch them, take note of their faces, take pictures of them, we'll deal with them. And I would not be surprised if the UWP is determined to do whatever it takes to monkey wrench that St. Jude Hospital. So Chasney showing up there is justified, reasonable cause for alarm. But the question is, who allowed him in? On what basis? Were directions ever given to them about the process and the procedure for people coming to visit the hospital? And why did they seem to be welcoming him so much and fawning over him, etc., etc.? I'm sure this will be dealt with. The St. Lucia Labour Party has put out a statement as the Labour Party. Apart from the Labour Party Communications Department, I would expect, and maybe it is happening today at regular pre-cabinet press briefing, whatever, that there would be a statement coming from the government, Ministry of Health, Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, who I think has portfolio responsibility for medical institutions and facilities in the country, to hear something said about it. There may be other government departments who I expect will speak about it. And will definitely make it clear that anything outside of the process and the procedures and the regulations and the directives and the policies that to refuse to comply with and abide by them will not be tolerated, and people be pulled up. But let me sound a note of caution. Very often for us to be taken seriously, whether as parents, I'm sure Terry as a former educator would know, as teachers, principals, you have to be consistent. You cannot today pull up somebody for something and tomorrow turn a blind eye or look the other way when they do it. And I'm going to say this, even as a supporter, known supporter of this government and the ruling party, I feel the Labour Party and the government, they dropped the ball recently on this thing at Tiroche, where another UWP frontliner, the deputy leader very dangerous politician called Guy Joseph, felt that he had the right to go and to interfere with the physical aspects and aesthetics of a public facility, namely to repaint it in the colors of his party so as to host a political event that he was allowed to host there. To this day, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, I have not seen any statement from the Labour Party. I have not seen any statement from the government, for which I would expect that the Ministry of Sports would have been the relevant, in charge body for that kind of thing. I have not seen any statement come from the Labour Party or the government to say this will not be tolerated. An inquiry is being taken. Mr. Joseph is being written to. He is being pulled in for questioning or something of that kind. Once you see UWP or anybody feels that they have the right, without any permission, without any authorization, to go and to interfere with public facilities, with the visible, discernible, physical characteristics and features of them, whether to go and to repaint a public facility without any permission or approval, to me, is tantamount to defacement, and that should not be taken lightly. Up to this day, I do not know why the Labour Party and the government chose to take such a taciturn, you can't even say it's a tepid response. There was no response whatsoever. There was a taciturn response. Don't say anything whatsoever about it. Maybe if you wanted to let slide Timothy Mangal's racist comments about black like Philip J. Pierre, and everything on this side is beautiful and painted white, and everything on this side is ugly and painted black like Philip J. Pierre. Maybe if you wanted to leave that alone. It can't be that the only person that I heard who seemed to have something to say about it was Joachim Henry, because he is the direct opposite who defeated Guy Joseph for the constituency of Castries Southeast. Guy Joseph coming back and say it's not even Joachim's business, because that facility, even though it's in Tiroche, it's actually on the Castries east side of the constituency boundary and border, whatever it is, and so on. So like Joachim has no locus standi. Well, if that's not the case, don't tell me Honorable Kenson Kazimi as Minister of Sports don't have locus standi in this matter. Don't tell me that the Labour Party, as the direct counter to Guy Joseph and the UWP, didn't have any kind of interest or legitimacy to make a statement. So, it's instructive. Take a page from that. Learn a lesson from that. Don't let them get away with anything, even as you yourself try to be as circumspect as possible. Maybe this press release would have been a lot stronger in terms of its effect, in terms of saying we are serious, and if the previous time when a guy presumptuously goes and repaints a public facility in his party colors, not even the governing party had it in red, not even they had it in their party colors, you feel you can go and do it, and afterwards to come back in a subsequent meeting and to be giving the government and everybody who criticize you, your chalet gorge and so on. If they had taught you a lesson that previous time, maybe Alan Chasney, who is also the MP for a constituency that includes a Tiroche. So you never know if just the Tiroche, well, we got away with it in Tiroche, so I'm the Tiroche representative, so I can come and do whatever I want. You have to be very careful. You are the government. Nobody's telling you to be high-handed and heavy-handed and dictatorial, but you are in charge of the country. You are the custodian and steward of the country, especially in relation to public business and public assets, etc. Don't let any kind of opposition who always walking out of the House of Assembly, who always trying to create some idea with the speaker, they can't be coming now and calling the shots to that extent, and you don't have pushback against it robustly and, just as importantly, consistently. Now, I don't want to keep Terry waiting. I have other things I want to talk about. But when Terry comes, I tell you, he's chomping at the bit. He's very, very well prepared. So I don't want to keep him, standing by for too long. But he says I can go ahead. There's a game that special interest people, entrenched interest people, vested interest people play. And if you haven't been around too long, if you're inexperienced, if you're green, if you're a spring chicken, you might not know what they're doing. And you can easily fall for it. And it is the game of driving a wedge between comrades, between colleagues, between people who are working in lockstep, hand in glove, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, to try to drive them apart. And usually who they target is the person who is a little new and green in the game, a little giddy-headed. You know, sometimes when we're young and we have a lot of energy, we can confuse our energy for experience. We can believe that because we have a lot of enthusiasm, that enthusiasm is the same as wisdom. And so if they got to come and they figure that Terry is the more experienced and the more veteran and the more seasoned, mature and cooked person, it's me they're going to target to try to see if they can drive a wedge. And they might pretend that they're on my side and I might feel powerful and I might feel pumped up because I got this businessman and this contractor and this financier and this banker and this well-heeled and moneyed person on my corner. And before I know it, I start giving Terry attitude, not realizing that those people who pretend that they're in my corner and they'll tell me all the good things, you know, people do that, even on talk shows, Shelton, you're better than Terry. Or Fenelon, I feel you should take over that show, you know this little thing, it's only when you're there's excitement, That may be true, but most times they're doing it simply to see if they can work on the ego of one to throw them against the other. I know politicians in St. Lucia who've fallen for it. One of them is dead. But a lot of the thing where he would never settle down with his party is because people told him, man, you shouldn't be playing second fiddle to anybody. You should be the man who's leading this thing and so on. And over time, it works on his head. And he could never settle down to work. But I'll leave that one alone. But you know those people who make you believe that they're on your side and everything, is wrong with it. They're just there to drive a wedge. They're just there to create division. As soon as they have succeeded in driving the wedge, in fatally wounding the cohesive, united, consolidated effort that is required to resist them and to defeat them, they're gone, They're gone. They got Shelton to be giving Fenelon all kind of attitude, and then when Shelton really need them and he think they're dead, they're not there, they're gone, because mission accomplished for them already. In any case, where politics is concerned, it's not how many special interests and moneyed interest and financial interest, this and that you have, We need that, Politics, no. Let's not be naive. You can't run politics without money, without resources. Just the act of setting up for a meeting, the stage and the sound and the lighting and this and logistics and all of these things, they cost money. All right? With smart management, they may not need so much money because you can mobilize and have volunteers and people and that sort. But let me tell you something. There's this thing called, how do you call it? Adult suffrage, universal suffrage,
Universal adult suffrage.
Yeah, which is based on the principle of one person, one vote. You might end up having so many people in your corner, those vested interests, who put everything in your head, who pledge so much to you and who give you so much that you forget that at the end of the day, in that little booth, where they have whatever thing that you must fold and you must write your little X and give it back and show that to the presiding officer and then put it in the box, whatever. All right? Only one person goes inside there at a time. And only one person can mark an X on any one ballot at a time if they don't spoil it. It's one person, one vote. Be very careful. Be very careful that you're not listening to the voice of people who have a lot of vice, who have a lot of tricks, who have a lot of deceit, who have a lot of deception about them, who are trying to drive a wedge, and then they leave you flat on your backside, after they have caused all the division. And that they have caused the division is not worth it in the final analysis, because it gives no guarantee that the people who grow to mark that X, that they will mark it in your favor. I'm saying don't focus too much on that you have powerful backer and this kind of thing, and you don't remember. You don't place enough focus, enough attention on the grassroots, ground level, individual mobilization of the people who will mark that X. Stop letting people bluff you. They have a lot of tricks up there. And you see, when people know that they don't have the smarts that you have, they can't claim to have the degrees that you have, they can't speak well like you, they don't have the education, they don't have the shine, they don't have the sparkle, they don't have the credentials, they don't have the decoration, they're not regaled and so on like you are, with so many different qualities and so on. They may not have any of those things, but one thing they may have is a lot of cunning. They might be wily. They might have a lot of tricks up their sleeve that they can play on you. Be very, very careful with them. And I'm telling you, your opponents, those people of the other party, there may not be as many people with masters and with this and with that and the other. But I know from experience, from personal knowledge, a lot of them have a lot of vice. You know, lot of vice. They know how to be cunning. They know how to be wily. They know how to play all kind of games. And be very careful that some of them are not there playing that kind of game right now to make you believe that they're there when in fact they're far over there. Watch for those kind of things. I wouldn't say more, because sometimes you say certain things and people believe is power using for them, is some kind of little way you come in after them and so on. But be very, 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 very careful. There is no substitute, for experience. There is no substitute for maturity. And if you lack them in terms of years, in terms of involvement, in terms of how long you've been around, be sure that you tap into those who have it, draw it from them, reflect, ponder, and apply it to the best and most appropriate way to the circumstances that you find yourself in. Real issues powered by Blue Waters. I think we better take the break right now. Let's take it, and when we come back, it's going to be all Terry, and he will decide at what point he opens the lines and so on for our engagement with you this afternoon.
The man. The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port. Investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The St. Lucia Labour Party's Town Hall Tuesdays continue, this time at Palm Valley Glory Fair, Dennery North, on Tuesday, July 8th from 7 p.m. This will be yet another powerful edition of Town Hall Tuesday with Parliamentary Representative Honorable Sean Edward. He will be joined by political leader and Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre. Get updates on national progress. Hear what's happening in your constituency. Share your concerns and be part of the conversation shaping our future. Dennery North, we're coming to you. It's Sean again. See you on Tuesday, July 8th at Palm Valley from 7 p.m.
Another hurricane season is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Larcher's Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Larcher's Electrics today.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The man.
Staying with the real issues at the start of another week with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer, along with my co-host and co-producer, Terry Fenelon. I got to give him that designation because he never comes without a lot of material. You know, folks, I said as soon as we come back, I'm going to take less than a minute, but let me tell you something. There is another game that people play apart from driving a wedge between comrades like, say, Terry and myself. I'm just using him as an example and nothing like that taking place. The cable is not, so it's pulling the mic in. All right. Okay, and apart from driving a wedge, they sometimes play the game of pretending that they've fallen out with each other, or they're not on good terms, or they're not hot with each other. And then they unexpectedly, to us at least, show up for one another. Don't read anything into the relative quiescence and absence from the platform and other public appearances by such as Edmund Estefan, Cyril Flood, Mary Isaac and others. You might not see them, hear them for a while, and you might think they've drifted away. And then all of a sudden, they just show up again. You know, don't read anything. Don't let them bluff you. Sometimes statements might be made like, you know, Alan Shastney, I don't feel we're going anywhere. Maybe unless they have made a definite repudiation of their previous stance. Don't take anything from them for granted. Look at Jeremiah Norbert. Despite getting that letter from the PS, I keep saying Jeremiah. Elisha Norbert. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Minister. I just keep making that because you see, the only really you're the only really true and significant Norbert there, you know. Jeremiah, you know, he's the only true and significant. But look at this guy, you know, who said he was stepping away from all of that because he values his career. Twice after that, you know, he's still been on UWP public outings and platforms and so on, even to the peril of his own job, his own career, etc., etc. He's still doing it, you know, and you might just see them just show up, the Mary Isaac and them from, don't let them fool you. You know, they all in it together, and by pretending that they've drifted away, it's just to throw you off and so on. Have we seen a letter or an article that was written by Melanius Alphonse pertaining to Eubaldus Raymond? I don't want to take any cracks at him, you know. But I had to ask myself when reading it, what really is the purpose of it, you know? Ubaldo, to my knowledge, is not running for politics anymore. Why is it so important that he has to publicly come out and say he's not being investigated and he's never been investigated and the commissioner gave in? And I read it and I said, look, you're quietly repairing your image and your reputation. Go ahead and do it quietly. Why don't people find it so hard to keep their heads down? Is he making some kind of preparation to return to the limelight or public thing and so on? You know, what is that about? And is it any coincidence that it's happening at this time? You know, now I hold nothing against him. I don't know where he is now with his politics and where he stands and so on. But when I saw that article, I said, why now? Why is it coming out now at this time? You know, if it involves repairing your image and reputation, then go ahead and do it. You don't need to be standing on the hilltop and the rooftop and flying the flag and blowing the trumpet about it. Just do it. You got into all kind of twists and everything after you went and made a public spectacle of pulling off whatever shirt on you to show your labor and all that went after it and so on. I wonder why now. But it may be for a different reason. I tend to be a little paranoid, if not paranoid, at least apprehensive. But these are the things I'm just saying. Let us keep our eyes peeled and our ears wide open and watch and listen carefully to everything that is happening. Terry.
Yes, Comrade, I think at the starting you asked some very good questions about the site visits, because I've been bothered. And yes, those persons who wanted to screenshot what I wrote in a private group and circulate it from political mischief, that's on you. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have maintained that if this guy trespassed, if he was there without permission, he should be arrested. And so then I want to echo that, because what you have said, we need to know who gave permission. Because I remember in opposition, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre at the time, he had to write to the Minister of Economic Development, I think it was, the Minister of Tutbagai, because that was under his portfolio, asking politely that they be allowed to visit the site. And one mischievous political commentator says, SLP just wanted to go there on a fault-finding mission. And they were denied. You understand? At least we followed. And that's a problem, you know. Well, no, let me take that back. With SLP, we always try to do things nice, by the book. But sometimes, nice doesn't cut it. You understand? We always want to figure, what will people say? You know, we always have this thing, Shelton. If I do that, then people will accuse me of this, and you're worried about whether you lose votes. You don't want to lose votes if you do the things right, man. You understand? If whoever gave permission on that site, because that site belongs to you, not the contractor. Now, you could tell me I'm wrong. The contractor has possession of, you could tell me that. Because last night I asked a question to people who should know. And then he had that right. But to me, that site belongs to the government and people of St. Lucia, right? And to go there, you need to have permission. You have to go through the proper channels. And I don't think that was followed. And what struck me more was that this visit came one day after the Prime Minister was there, you know. And he released his video. I mean, what kind of mischief is this? If you wanted to visit, you should have written for permission. And knowing the Philip J. Pierre administration, I don't think they would have said no. They would have given you a date and under proper escort, etc. But you went there, we don't know the circumstances, and you're allowed in. And I just saw our friend Azzy posted something. Let me read it.
Yeah, sure.
It says, by somebody, maybe I should give credit. Andre Jean, I don't know who Andre Jean is. I've never met him, but it makes sense. He says he's surprised. I'm surprised why he was given access to the site. We all know that he doesn't want the hospital to be completed. That's a fact. He has said so on platform, if St. Jude is finished, UWP is finished. You understand? He doesn't want the hospital to be completed. He has shown that he will do anything and everything to destroy the country. This administration is taking everything for granted. I concur. In this political climate, you can't take anything for granted. This man is allowed to do anything and say anything, and nothing for that. I like that phrase. That's Christopher's phrase. Nothing for that. He's in the house misbehaving, and everybody treats him with kids' gloves. And I'll come back to that. Even in Parliament, he can't be controlled. Oh yeah, I didn't even say that. Even in Parliament, and that is true. He has this, I'm going to say, white privilege. Because we are afraid to touch him. He's a rich man's son, as T.C. Brown's son. That's a rich man's son. He's white, so he can get away with it, and we are afraid because we are afraid what people will say. Or if we apply the rules to him, it will look bad. And you all must stop this foolishness, you know. So he's above the law. And he has shown that he's above the law. He gets away with any and everything, and we just sit back and we know we are afraid. We are afraid to touch him. Why? I can't understand that. The law of the land should be for everyone, not for some. Folks, I've been following the comments on Facebook and other media outlets, and I'm of the opinion that this latest scenario playing out in the public domain makes the government appear weak. And I concur. You have a little boy, Elisha Norbert, just playing papi show with the Ministry of Education.
So how come you always remember in this Elisha? And I'm always,
No, I have to make sure that I get it right.
How come my mind drifting like that? Okay, all right.
You know, the law is the law, and it should be applied equally to everyone. I mean, I cannot understand how a little boy, a little teacher fella, confused marshmallow teacher, he says, just playing papi show with the Ministry of Education and nothing for that. I mean, Nancy Charles was what officer she was? Implementation officer after 2 weeks training. Government of solution, you need an enforcement officer, man. Because that is nonsense. Man, just papi showing everybody. Today, papi showing you, I'm not doing this, then the next Sunday he's on the platform and then he's telling you he's a consultant for this and it's what kind of nonsense is going on there? And we just allowing that to pass. As though, well, that ain't no big thing. It's a big deal. And then the leader of the opposition just buoys onto the compound. I heard they say Redo gave him permission. But if that is the case, I don't like it. That should not have been. There is a procedure. The site belongs to the government. And so that means if Dominic Fede goes there tomorrow, he'll be allowed on the site. And we know these fellas have said they're going to, what Bermuda said? Burn St. Jude. Don't allow it to finish. That's the Prime Minister, one of them. If St. Jude is, if we allow, listen to what you know, not if St. Jude is finished, if we allow the Labour Party to finish St. Jude, listen to the words carefully. That's important. Then it says, if St. Jude is finished, if we allow the government to finish St. Jude, if they allow, that's loaded, you know. If they allow the government to finish St. Jude, then they're finished. And I mean, if the contractor who is doing that, you have to be living in St. Lucia to understand how sensitive that is. The fellas have made it clear what the intentions are for St. Jude.
Especially when these utterances are coming, if not directly,
yeah,
but certainly from the ramparts of people who have influence, who allegedly have generations of experience that they have accumulated in burning things down.
Yeah,
whether,
that's right.
Whether it be boats or buildings and so on. You know,
well, you see the boats thing?
You know?
Well, it's a good thing, you know, Shelton.
They've accumulated generations of experience.
In my former life, I had a gentleman who, you know, sometimes people have a foreshadowing that they're going to pass on. And at that time, I was Brother Terry, so he took me up. I'm not going to say it there. My friends know what I'm about to say. And maybe he had his four-wheel drive, not his four-door. And Shelton, we sat at, I was in the front seat, passenger seat, and for about 4 hours, he was just pouring out his heart in confession. Shelton, I told, because you know sometimes you yourself have to be debriefed because the kind of things that you hear, it's a burden. Fortunately, so if I say anything, there are one or two people who will tell you that. I told them that. That's about 15 years ago or more.
That there are some people who when they go to bed, you wonder if they can sleep. If they're not seeing
so
flames.
When you talk about boots and things,
okay.
A confession was made.
Right.
So when you say the fellow say they're going to burn St. Jude and listen to the language, if we allow them to finish St. Jude, that is serious. And then as a contractor, you're going to allow these fellows on the site without permission? That is reckless. I mean, I have no brief for anybody. That is reckless. And if the government does not respond, I don't know how, but they have to respond to that. That cannot happen. We cannot have unauthorized people on the site. We never know what's going to happen. And Shelton, I think what's the word I'm looking for? Perspicacious. Yeah. You saw it early. And you said we have to increase, security has to be tight.
Yes.
Because these fellas, no, they have said it.
They will try to infiltrate
Said
it.
it.
And I think I have read that there are delayed ignition devices that you can drop something there and you can have it. It's almost like a timer and nobody will see it immediately or initially. There'll be no smoke, but it will be there. It will be ticking down to a certain amount of time, maybe days after you have left. And then, the combustion and the whole flammable thing in it will start. And it can burn down something. And they'll know what are the areas to drop it, whether it is in the generator room,
back about 3-4 years,
or the boiler room and so on. And if this kind of thing happens, then it becomes a crisis because people only see things mostly in the context of who was in office when it occurred.
That's right.
You understand? That is why I've been railing so much about that Millennium Highway that has been taking forever to finish. And it is entirely in the constituency. The Millennium Highway is totally in the constituency of Castries South. So Dr. Ernestine there, who people have had hatred against him for maybe very personal reasons, the whole Millennium Highway fiasco falls in his constituency. OKEU, Victoria, all of that, they fall in his constituency. So we have to look at whether some people are deliberately trying to create a package of liabilities, for certain people,
But we cannot allow that kind of breach to occur again. This is too important a matter. These fellas have said all manner of things. St. Jude must not be allowed to finish. The Labour Party must not be allowed to finish St. Jude. If St. Jude is finished, they are finished, etc. And we are allowing that what happened on Saturday is a no-no. That should never have happened and be allowed to happen, and that must never happen again. So whoever overstepped the bounds and the boundaries and gave permission, no, you have to be ready to riot act. That is too sensitive a matter.
Somebody has just sent a message saying, I'm not sure if the site belongs to the government. Just like other projects, it belongs to the contractor until completion and handover. Now, technically speaking, you're right.
Right, yes.
But let me tell you this. There is just too much vested in and at stake.
That's right.
With that St. Jude Hospital project.
That's
too
right.
much is at stake in it. There is too much politically. There is too much historically.
That's right.
There is too much in every sphere you can analyze it for us to allow anybody who happens according to technical definition to be the custodian of the site, for there to be any kind of fooling around. It gets burned down now. It ain't gonna be Renault people want to chop off his head, It's Philip J. Pierre.
That's right.
It's Moses Jean-Baptiste. It's Stevenson King. It's those people they want to chop off their head, and at the same time it's the people of St. Lucia who are going to be set back how many years after they've already been set back. It's sports in St. Lucia, National Stadium. What has happened down there? That is going to be set back. So the vested interest and the stake that is held by the government and people of St. Lucia is such that these little technical nitty-gritties and so on, while they have to be acknowledged, but at the same time, we have to be very protective and defensive of what is ours.
Yes, and let me make sure, for those people, we have nothing to be afraid of. Work is going on. Everybody saw it. We saw the video. Work is going on. What we are afraid of is these fellas trying to sabotage because they have said so. We must not allow the government to complete St. Jude. That is the words. That's platform rhetoric. And you heard Josie saying about shoot fellas.
Yeah.
You have Sarah saying about get up angry. You heard that Hallow fella burn houses. That's what we're going to do. We're going to burn. These fellas have preached all kinds of violence. They want to visit all kinds of violence and everything, destruction on the country. Bermuda calling and say, burn St. Jude, burn St. Jude. Fella saying, buzz the Prime Minister's head, and when you get in power, you will pardon us. We cannot allow that. So if the contractor gave permission, I think you were slack. That means you are not sensitive to what's happening in the country. You are not. You may have done it from the goodness of your heart. You must be saying you have nothing to hide, but that's not the issue. Anything could have happened because these fellas have no good intentions for doing that, and that should never have been allowed to happen. I am not comfortable with it. I'm not happy about it and stuff. That must not happen again. That should not be allowed to happen again. Okay, the work goes on. The government is you have control of the site, but the government, you want to visit the site, you're right. That's what SLP had to do. They were denied. You understand? And you're just allowing any and anybody and people are accommodating in rich man's son, white boy and thing. No, we had to stop that. everybody afraid of the man. And Shelton, that's the thing that gets to me, This man has been... Anyway. So, St. Jude is too important, too sensitive. That's a national issue. We cannot afford to take any chances with that. Now, I gave you some videos of St. Jude and Guy Joseph, but Shelton, I'm not in the mood to play that. I think we can leave that for tomorrow.
Okay.
But let's go to the next issue. Shelton, the president of His Excellency Tinubu, Nigeria, he left. Did the sky fall?
Not at all. He was in St. Lucia.
Yes.
Did the country sink?
The country did not sink. But I'll tell you what fell. Shelton, I'll tell you what. I might even read. Let me see. Let me pull it up there. All right. A lot of things fell. Shelton. Things fell. Scholarships fell. Partnerships.
Visa-free arrangement.
Yeah. Hopefully we should, in time, in a few months, etc., we're working towards getting direct flights from the motherland.
Yes.
You understand? And then we had people, I have a doctor friend from Nigeria. I hope I have it right, yeah? And his phrase was, I have never seen such an arrogant display of ignorance before in my life. Now, Nigerians are about the most intelligent people. When you go to the States and stuff, boy, these fellas, when it on the scale, on the educational scale, these guys are rated, highly skilled. You understand? Nigerians, all people talk about is the little scams. But of course, you get scams from everywhere. We have a lot of scammers in St. Lucia too. Yes, where's the void of scammers? You have scam. The most populous, one of the most if not the most populous country in Africa, Nigeria, oil rich, etc. You want to say the man is corrupt, so we should not. We don't form diplomatic relations with people. We form diplomatic relations with countries. So we have established diplomatic relations with Nigeria. And if His Excellency dies today, somebody replace him, these diplomatic relations will stand. And my friend, he's a doctor, because these guys are highly skilled. And I like to use that phrase, the most arrogant display of ignorance. Shelton, I could not believe, Moody was in Trinidad, and did you see the reception? Did you see the reception, Shelton?
Very much so, very much.
And you swear, people said, boy, they swear they were in India. And at the state dinner, the leaves, I don't know, I don't want to call the wrong thing. That's what it was. So, it was really Indian tradition, reconnecting with the ancestral home.
And that doesn't mean that Modi is universally accepted. The BJP, there are a lot of people in India who don't support the
Modi,
BJP. I met Indians who told me they left India from the moment the BJP won office because of its nationalist kind of thing, which they believe has everywhere you go, leaders, no matter how popular, they are detractors, they are critics, they are people who oppose them. And my goodness, wonderful Prime Minister that Philip J.P. has done. We have people in St. Lucia, who don't like him, who focus on his blackness and all this kind of thing. But when you find people making statements like the blackness in a disparaging way about the blackness of our Prime Minister, don't be surprised that people from that same organization, as you say, that side, they also have a problem with a leader from Black Africa, Nigeria.
I'm not surprised. Somebody talk about the dam. We'll discuss the dam sometime in the week. Let me read to you. Let me take some time to read, because Shelton, we have to educate our people, right?
Sure.
And I meet a lot of people, surprisingly, Shelton. I meet a lot of people. Those of you who meet me on the road, at the bakery, I've met about 6 or 7 people at the bakery who are not online, but they listen. And their words of encouragement, they are listening and they're following. And you know what they're saying? We are with you. Those I meet in the supermarket. Yeah, so that's why I always tell children, the numbers are not important. Well, they are important, but the influence is wide. Let me read this for you. The federal government, listen, I'm going to take my time. Let it sink in. The federal government of Nigeria, not His Excellency Tinubu, the federal government of Nigeria has begun the deployment of skilled professionals to St. Lucia and other Eastern Caribbean countries following the signing of a new technical manpower assistance agreement aimed at strengthening diplomatic ties and deepening South-South cooperation. I'm taking my time so you can understand that. The agreement, listen to that, was signed on Wednesday, July the 2nd. That was Wednesday last week, while you were still here, in Castries, the capital of St. Lucia. Representing Nigeria was the Director General of the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps, the Honorable Yusuf Buba Yacob, while Janil Modest Stephen, the Acting Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, International Trade, Civil Aviation, and Diaspora Affairs, signed on behalf of St. Lucia. This is an outstanding achievement just days after Mr. President's directive to deploy technical aid to St. Lucia and the wider OECS, said Yacob during the signing ceremony. Listen to this now. Interesting. Under the agreement, Nigeria will send volunteers, including teachers, medical professionals, and agriculturalists who will serve in OECS countries for 2 years. Listen further. Nigeria will cater for their allowances and logistics, while the host countries are expected to provide accommodation and other local support. So their salaries and stuff will be paid. According to Yacob, Nigeria has already begun deploying over 300 Nigerian professionals across Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific since the beginning of the Tinubu administration in May 2023. Since my appointment in August, we've deployed volunteers to Liberia, Sierra Leone, Jamaica, and other African countries. 4 nurses will depart for Jamaica tomorrow, well, that was okay, and leave for Grenada on the 9th. Yacob emphasized that the renewed momentum in Nigeria's foreign assistance aligns with President Tinubu's 4D foreign policy, which focuses on democracy, development, diaspora, and demography. Yacob disclosed that the program has gained traction internationally, especially in the Caribbean. Listen to that. Jamaica has formally requested 400 experts who are willing to pay. Instead of importing labor from Asia, they want Nigerian professionals. Okay, and it goes down. What should you know? Nigeria deployment of professionals to St. Lucia is part of a broader South-South cooperation strategy unveiled by President Bola Tinubu during his diplomatic visit to the Caribbean. Alongside the manpower agreement signed in Castries, St. Lucia, the president also launched a scholarship program, one university graduate per household, for students from the organization, from the OECS, to study Nigerian universities, which will commence from the next academic year. That means September. The initiative also includes cultural and educational exchange, giving Caribbean students the opportunity to reconnect with their African roots. A Nigerian OECS joint committee has been established to handle implementation, including student selection and placement. President Tinubu also proposed visa waivers for holders of diplomatic and official passports from the OECS countries, alongside efforts to improve connectivity and trade flows between the region. So, Shelton, the sky did not fall.
Not at all. The country did not sing.
The country did not sing. What fell was rain, scholarships, trade, nurses, agriculturalists, and other professionals coming. Opportunities.
Yes.
And we have a market of 230 something million. I mean, Baron Foods, you go get in there, although they'll tell you they have more pepper than us. You know what I mean? I'm Chow Ming, I'm Ramco,
yes,
and others. There are opportunities there. I mean, toiling, we have opportunities. You know what I mean? That's a market that we have to explore. And people are going to tell me, well, they're not. Anyway, a Papi show. Yeah.
Well, time for the break, Terry. So when you come back, you'll decide whether you want to continue with more of your material, or whether we open the phone lines, for our people who I know can't wait to pitch in and to weigh in on what we've been discussing. Real Issues powered by Blue Waters. Don't go away.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The St. Lucia Labour Party's Town Hall Tuesdays continue, this time at Palm Valley Glory Fair, Dennery North on Tuesday, July 8th from 7 p.m. This will be yet another powerful edition of Town Hall Tuesday with Parliamentary Representative Honorable Sean Edward. He will be joined by political leader and Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre. Get updates on national progress. Hear what's happening in your constituency. Share your concerns and be part of the conversation shaping our future. Dennery North, we're coming to you. It's Sean again. See you on Tuesday, July 8th at Palm Valley from 7 p.m.
Another hurricane season is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Launchers Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
With the Real Issues powered by Blue Waters on Real FM radio, on NBC television, and on Facebook and YouTube Live, with me, Shelton Daniel, accompanied by Terry Fenelon. And I'm going to pass over to him so he'll decide whether he calls for the opening of the lines or whether there's some more material that he wants to go through.
No, Shelton, I told you, I came really, this St. Jude matter is a vexing issue. I had about 5 videos lined up, very short clips, because we needed to put that in perspective. But we had to deal with this incident on Saturday, and so that has, I feel aggrieved, and aggravated because because Shelton, like somebody I'm saying it reluctantly, but we are playing too soft, too nice. You know, we want to deal with these guys, you know, with kids' gloves, and they're trying to juke out our eyes, you know. They want to juke out our eyes, but we played nice, and we, you know, Elisha. I mean, that should have been dealt with already, man. You know, Papi showing us.
You believe he should have been sent home already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Let him go and seek judicial review, and we'll understand the way forward. So whether we have to do that or not, or he's right or wrong. You understand? We just pussyfooting on these matters. A man comes in on a Saturday unannounced, one day after the Prime Minister visits the place. He's coming in the next day, and then he's allowed in, you know, and thing, no clearance and stuff. I mean, this is aggravating. This can't be right, and nothing for that. You're in the house making a mockery of the standing orders, and we treat you as though.
Okay.
The desilting will take care of the desilting, you know, because Shelton, I can understand. Do you believe, Shelton, in one contract, 3 employees were paid $4.5 million for the year?
There's some heavy money there, you know.
3 employees.
And how far have we gotten with
right
that
on a site, on a contract? That just tells you, man, that contract must have been that award must have been so overpriced.
Right.
That 3 men collected for the year $4,500,000. Salary $150,000.
So that means 1.5 million for each. If you had to divide 4.5 million by 3, it's 1.5 each.
Every month, $375,000. You know.
And what I'm saying,
yes.
The desilting, how far has it gone?
8%.
You understand?
We have to deal with that. Somebody pointed that out. We have to. That has to be. We got to open the lines.
Yeah.
Shakwan.
Yes.
We'll take calls on the matter because, you know, today we went a little. You know, I wanted to frame that St. Jude thing properly. Not that we have not done so, but we had to deal with that issue as it came up.
Okay, we're getting our first call. Real Issues. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Shelton. Good afternoon, Terry.
Good
How
afternoon.
are you doing?
We're doing okay. How about you?
It's always a pleasure to see you all. So sometimes when my TV gets stuck, I get nervous.
Okay.
But I heard Terry introduce the dam desilting project, but to me, you need a whole show dedicated to that. But I wanted to touch on the issue of St. Jude. And Shelton and Terry, I have a different perspective on it. For me, I have a lot of questions. The number one question is, forget the politics, forget Alan Chastney. Has there been access to the site by any lay citizen, anybody at all? That for me is the question.
Why?
Is it possible that anyone has been granted access to the site who was unauthorized to be there? Because I heard, Shelton, that you corrected the statement you made before. I think it was Terry who said the site belongs to the government. The site belongs to the contractor, yes. However, the contractor is acting on behalf of a client who is the government of St. Lucia. And so I need to find out whether the contractor or whoever allowed access has allowed access in the past to unauthorized people.
What have you been hearing?
I haven't heard anything. I'm asking questions. I haven't heard anything. But what I am reflecting on is, was it about 2 years ago when they had that march in Beaufort, and they tried gaining access to that site?
Right.
When someone said, take their photos, so we can, when we get back into office, we'll deal with them.
Yes.
At that time, wasn't that site under heavy security? So how is it on Saturday the security just get loose? To me, something is not right.
It's not adding up.
And whoever has granted access has breached security. You remember, I am not I'm not mentioned, I don't want to focus on the individual who show up on Saturday. I am saying anyone who is not authorized ought not to have been given access to the site. So that's number 1 point. The second one is, I was more disturbed, Terry, I'm more disturbed than you. When I saw photos or video of the contractor staff escorting the individual through the site.
Yes.
That's worse than just granting access.
That's right.
So you grant access and you stand up there and you look from afar and you see the buildings and you think. But to be escorted through the project and they're saying that they did it so that they can be sure he didn't touch anything. He was not supposed to be there in the first place.
Correct.
So why are you escorting him through the building? And the gentleman was wearing his party shirt. So he was conspicuous enough. Even if you say, okay, well, I thought it was a Saudi that came to check the thing. I thought it was somebody from the project. But the gentleman was conspicuous enough. Don't tell me these employees of the contractor who lining all in Newport and everything and all over the place don't know who the gentleman was.
That's right.
Wearing his conspicuous shirt. The gentleman went there to make a show.
That's right.
To gain attention and to show solutions. It's bad so.
I'm the boss.
So I think the client needs to check with the security personnel and the people who granted access and record the breach of security that occurred. Because, Shelton, if I was not right here in Castries, I would have showed up on the site today to see if I would have been granted access, just like the gentleman. And I think we have to test the system. Because, I mean, you've been hearing so many things about that site, so many things that they want to do with that site. Burn it down. And you're telling me there could have been such a blatant breach like that?
Yes.
To me, something not adding up. There are many questions. And if you want to have a show dedicated to St. Jude, then I will ask all of your questions. But I know that your show has several other things. Remember, you're supposed to have a show on the dam too.
Yes.
Because, Terry, you're right. You had 3 engineers being paid $350,000 per month.
375,000.
$350 per month.
Yes.
Okay? 125 to the engineer, 150 to the project manager, and
100,000.
100,000, 100,000 to the engineer, 150 to the project manager, and 125 to a geotechnical engineer. But there are several other things that are listed inside of this. Okay? And then in the end, it turns out that the dam was 8% silted.
8%.
Desilted. 8%.
8%.
Of the capacity of the dam.
Yes.
Of the silt that was in the dam that came out.
And they overspent by 16.9 million.
And then you will hear people now crying when there's no water. Anytime there is no water in your tap, blame it on the former government. Because having spent over $60 million, we still cannot get water coming out of the dam. Blame it on the former government. The same way when we lost in traffic, when we there in traffic going up the Castries-Gozile Highway, we have to blame it on the former government.
That's right.
Because we had money from the Kuwait Fund to complete the project, to do the project in its entirety. And they did the caution you see going up there. Okay, gentlemen, but I know Cornelia Jacobs might be quarreling with me right now, so I'll leave the line for the others. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You know, Shelton, this morning we're having that exact conversation on the beach, right?
All right.
About the falling highway, etc., etc.
Yeah, we're getting a caller from New York right now. Real issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Yeah, Reverend Deacon, good afternoon to you.
Mr. Fellow.
Good afternoon, sir.
Shelton, let me just first take the moment to to send condolences to my brothers and sisters in Barbudo, Moshi, wherever they have wished for, on the passing of our brother. Yeah. So
What is your brother's name, may I ask?
Sheldon, you'll be surprised that I do not know his government name in full. I have never met my brother in person. All I know him as is Japapai.
Okay, well, accept our condolences, yes.
Yes, he's one of my father's children that I've never met.
Okay.
But we have spoken on many occasions, but never met him in person.
Okay then, all right, no problem.
Yeah, but Sheldon, Senator Allison put it nicely. I do not know how the Prime Minister feels. What is he feeling at this moment? If he's feeling the pressures of the public or the Labour Party or government, let me say, is trying to be nice and protect the victory. But I think the victory has already been protected. It is time now to protect the assets, the people of St. Lucia. That is what we need to protect. Because, Sheldon, I do not see how it is possible to be giving a man that kind of leeway in Parliament, outside Parliament, wherever he wants, he goes. Whatever he wants to do, he do. Whatever he wants to say, he says. Shelton, I know that Alan Chasney is part of the government. The fact that he is the parliamentary representative for Mikud South, he's part of the government. But Sheldon, I think the government itself needs to take a stand. And the people will be with you. Because we voted for you and we gave you the mandate to stop the nonsense Alan Chasney been doing and his people been saying. Saying on the platform, saying in the media. Sheldon, we need to stop that. We're trying to be too passive, too nice. Or we're going to say, we're probably thinking, what is going to happen to us? Are we going to lose people in the voting process? No, Shelton. We got to stand up for something or else we'll fall for any and everything. And right now, I think the Labour Party is falling for any and everything right now. Just for us to protect what? The victory. The victory's already been protected. So then we need to make an example out of these people who seem to be lawbreakers, non-law-abiding citizens, and that is what Shasta is doing. This is a construction site where there is a procedure and a process in visiting it, in going there. And for the man to just show up there, and Dr. Anderson said something which is right. In his UWP t-shirt, not in government business, UWP t-shirt. Now, Shelton, it looks like anybody and everybody could just walk inside of the compound, and we don't want to blow it up, but just give them the tariff, and I could just say, you know what, I labor, let me just go. I'm speaking for the party, let me just go on this side. No, they're supposed to arrest tariff, and avoid him from just coming inside there just like that. And if it was him by now, it would have been a different story. Mm-hmm. Shelton, I'm sure if you had walked in there today, they would have heard on the news, Shelton think he's boss, and so he's just walking on the side. No, Shelton, I think the Labour Party have to do something. We have to do something that has to stop, or else that will become just like a norm to everybody and think they can do what they want.
Thank
you, Shelton.
Thank you very much. Did you realize that Chasney entered the site with no personal protective equipment, PPE? Another violation? Mm-hmm. That's a message I got on WhatsApp.
He had no hat, nothing.
All right. We have another call on the line already. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, comrades.
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
I miss you all for a few afternoons because of my current preoccupation these days. But I just want to make just one or two remarks on the issues that were raised here. I believe, I saw the video too, I believe Alan Chasney, the leader of the opposition, in his yellow t-shirt on the grounds of St. Jude's, whether he got permission or not, and the people showing around, he's really looking to make a statement. And I believe the statement he's trying to make to say is that the government is in power, Labour Party in power, but I'm in charge and in control.
That's right.
I'm very clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you Shelton, have gone deep in the issues you raised in your remarks about the attitude of the UWP and some of the things that are happening. I believe the attitude that is being portrayed there now are what I call the manifestation of the struggle between the classes. The classes I refer to as the rich, the aristocrats, and the ordinary people. Perpetually in history, there's always been that struggle going on. You can just check it out from the time the two parties came into being. The two parties, from the time they came to being, there always been that struggle. Now, the manifestations now, to me, signals that since the SLP is in power now, and the trajectory of Philippe Pierre and the SLP is that the government would win the election next time. So the aristocracy, the rich, for which the UWP is their vehicle, let us understand something. There are people in the society, my brother, who are the ones behind the UWP and Alan Chasney to do what they are really doing there. Because this set of people in the society have never been in the interest of the common people, the workers, the working people. They have never been in there. Just check the history, my brother, right? We have had in the SLP, and you made that comment a few days ago. I didn't have time to comment on it. What has happened in the SLP throughout the history is a history of betrayal of the common people of the working class, right? From the time the Bousquet brothers, when they crossed the floor in 1964 and things that was a betrayal. George Odlum and Peter Josie, when they got into power, they got into infighting. That was a betrayal of the working people. And it is really thinking it is the forces in the society that believe that they must always be in power to make decisions, do things, and distribute interest to the rich. They are the ones that are behind that. Now, that's a very, very serious thing. As a party in government now, I believe the Labour Party, as the party, has to confront what is going on there on a head-to-head. Sometimes I say on a proletarian level. What I mean, you have to be decisive, you have to put your soldiers at it to work on, because there are people, my brother, in the society who are hearing the nonsenses that are going on, and they are believing in the things that are going on. That's a very dangerous. Now it's taking a Bwakate attitude. Even you made a comment the last time of the importance of the constituency groups. Some of these constituency groups are dysfunctional. I'm seeking to deal with one now in the area where I live. And virtually, it's a Bwakate, okay, our government in power, and this is not so, because the struggle, the manifestation of the struggle is getting more bitter and more bitter. It's the nonsense in the parliament, these issues here, all these things in the parliament, my brother. What is it? The comrade is just showing, why should I say comrade, oh my God? The honorable man is showing that he has no respect for the institutions of St. Lucia. That's right. He believes that and I don't want to sound racial, but he believes that the black people there inside the parliament not supposed to be there. And from the time of history, you can read the history, they had that same mentality. Okay? So we really have to take that struggle on a head-to-head basis and really deal with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bro, I am getting very angry with my party and my leadership that is allowing the so-called UWP to do whatever they want in this country. I am getting tired of this, believe me, and it takes you and your show to talk about those foolishness going on by the UWP. I am tired of this. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for your comment. We have another caller on the line. Real Issues, you're on. Go ahead. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon to you.
Shelton, how are you?
I'm doing great, and you? You're running out of time, so.
Yes, I know, but good afternoon, Terry. Let me
Good
say
afternoon.
that I'll deal with Mrs. Jean tomorrow.
You didn't what?
I'll deal with Mrs. Jean for the comment she made about me. I'm taking her to court.
Okay,
anyhow,
all right.
Let me tell you, I want to say I endorse your thinking and that of the caller before in regards to St. Jude Hospital. I have a serious problem with that man thinking he can do what he wants, when he wants, where he wants, how he wants, and nothing for that. I eagerly await a statement from the government of St. Lucia, whether it be the Minister for Infrastructure, Minister for Health, or the Prime Minister. Alan Kastner needs to ensure he learns and understands he's not calling the shots. He's not the Prime Minister. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take another caller on the line. Real issues. All right, we don't. Good afternoon. Tell PJP we are running out of patience in Vieux South. Tell us who the candidate is. All right, my friend, I would say wait on the Prime Minister, wait on the political leader. He knows what he's doing. And he's not doing it unilaterally like an autocrat and so on. He's doing it in consideration of many things, in consultation with many people and so on. Just wait on him. Don't allow the UWP to work you into that sense of panic and being frantic or hysterical. Oh my goodness, elections coming and we still don't know who the candidate. Don't let yourself get into. Don't let the UWP call the shots and dictate the pace where your temperament is concerned, that they play with your mind and make you believe time is running out. Philip J. Pierre, he got this. Okay, my friend, he got this. Cool out yourself. Wait for him. He is no fool. The people who have underestimated him before, they have deeply regretted it and continue to regret. Don't make the mistake of believing that because he quiet, that because you ain't hearing him, that he's not working, that he's not figuring, that he's not crunching and punching numbers and so on. He is. Terry, we're rapidly running out of time.
Yes,
so
time for our government to get tough. Have an enforcement officer. Because too much Elisha, T-Boy can just pon up a papi show. You know what I mean? Alan just doing what he wants, in the house, out of the house. Time for that nonsense to stop. We are tired of it.
Okay. This cannot be coincidence. Someone messages, since Shasney broken into the DSJH construction site, small gossip groups of workers at the stadium have been getting together more often in discussions, ridiculing and criticizing the move to the original site. Unfortunately, many of these certified and in quote marks, qualified nurses and other workers are supposed to be more intelligent and qualified than Shasney himself. Not exactly sure. I doubt on just a visit by himself. But I saw, the groups of workers surrounding him, taking pictures and so on. And they seem to be of a certain ethnicity.
Yes.
So I wondered whether they're the foreign workers that were brought in to expedite work and so on. There could be some racial dynamics at work in terms of, how a man of lighter hue and complexion is considered to be superior and almost godlike and so on. A lot of things could have been at play there, but we don't want to delve into that. What we want to delve into is what is the framework of permission, what is the framework of seeking permission, getting permission, how is that permission expressed, how is it channeled and so on, and whether that was adhered to. We have to be careful because first it was the Tiroche Multipurpose Court, then it is St. Jude Hospital. Tomorrow, what might it be? Some aspect of of the GPH work and something else. They will keep interfering and probing to see where they can throw a monkey wrench and downright sabotage something which they believe will have a kind of a depreciating effect on the good stocks, that this government has built for itself and for the country thus far. Terry, thank you so very much again for being here. And I see the lotto is coming on. Folks, we got to roll. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Monday, 7th July 2025 were Double Daily Grand, 12, 15, 20, 21. Big 4, 0, 1, 3, 2. The Big 4 Multi-X ball drawn is 2X. Pick 2, 6, 5. The Pick 2 Multi-X ball drawn is 2X. 1 off. 5, 2, 8. Lucky 3, 0, 5, 2. The Lucky 3 Multi-X ball drawn is 2X.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible